It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Want to make Mom's Day? Get to your Nordstrom Rack now and score amazing deals for Mother's Day, which is Sunday, May 12th. Find tons of gifts from only $30 at Nordstrom Rack. Fragrance, jewelry, luxury bags, activewear, beauty, and more. Save on Kate Spade New York, Stuart Weitzman, and Ted Baker London. Great brands, great prices. So shop your Nordstrom Rack store today and treat Mom to the good stuff from just $30.
Life is a highway, and on it there will be many chicken sandwiches. But there's only one McCrispy. So go ahead and hit the turn signal if you know about this juicy gem of a detour.
It's a Cottage Country Saturday special on your source for fantasy hockey news. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Oilers ready for round 2. How did they get there? What's working? And Leafs Bruins Game 7, baby. Buckle up and let's ride.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The two best words in sports, Game 7. We're getting there. Boston, Toronto, from Beantown tonight. Welcome back inside the lab, everybody, to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. And I am joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele Roden. And on this side of the microphone, it's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. Shout out to the everydayers holding us down, making us your first listen every single day. We see and appreciate you. Make sure you drop that 5-star review and smash that subscribe button. Steele and I appreciate it more than we can express in words. Speaking of which, Mr. Roden, going to express some takes on this Edmonton Oilers situation. And yeah, I got the old notepad out and I got some stats here to talk to you about. Evan Bouchard is a name that I want to run past you because I think he's not getting nearly enough credit for another great performance. We'll talk about the Kings and, of course, Bruins, Leafs. Lots of angles to talk about from Game 6. What we're seeing headed into tonight's epic Game 7 showdown. Steele, there are a lot of storylines coming into this one. A lot are being talked about. Let's talk about some that are not. I got a Saturday same game parlay. Over to you, my friend, as always. Where are you seeing here with this Edmonton Oilers team? Because I looked at those games against LA, and I think LA actually performed a lot better than we think. This is just how good this Edmonton Oilers team is right now, and we know a lot of that's coming from those special teams. Everybody's talking about it. Mute buttons got you, pal.
Thank you very much there, Kite Sir. I'm back. Hey, I'm battling the Spanish flu, the bird flu, the flu's all around right now. I've been drinking Benylin all day since last night. So absolutely juiced right now. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. But yeah, the power play's been buzzing for Edmonton, 45% in the first round series against the LA Kings. And that's one thing that a lot of their opponents cannot do when they play the Edmonton Oilers is take unnecessary and silly penalties against this club when you've got Draisaitl who can pretty much score from behind the net on the power play. Yeah. Connor McDavid, who is a wizard and a visionary with the puck, passes it tape to tape every single time. And Evan Bouchard, who's got one of the hardest slap shots in the NHL right now. And I know you want to talk on him, but Evan Bouchard was my X factor going into this series. And I've talked about, these teams having that star-studded defenseman on the blue line who can quarterback the power play, who can headman the puck up and transition and get into an odd man rush with their offensive group. Evan Bouchard has done exactly that. Mm-hmm. He's the third leading point scorer in the playoffs so far, right there behind obviously Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So they've done wonderful things right now. And if you're watching on YouTube, you've got the question up here: who do they prefer, the Preds or Canucks?
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point.
I don't think it does, Steele.
It doesn't really matter to them. It doesn't matter to them. I would say they would probably prefer the Vancouver Canucks just with the goaltending situation because Artur Shilov would just get absolutely eaten alive by those three players right there alone. And then you throw Zach Hyman into the mix as well in front of the net. It's not going to be a good thing for the Canucks, but I don't think they truly care who they play in the second round. They're absolutely dominating the game right now.
first and foremost about this Edmonton Oilers team, I agree with everything that you just said. Actually, I agree with your take on the Predators as well. And we don't know what's happening. You know, we always record a little bit early, so we don't know the result of that series. It could be going longer. It could be over. We don't know. But I'm going to agree with you on that take, and I'll say this. Ken Holland deserves some credit for doing what he has done with this team, because he, you know, the Peter Chiarellis of the world, when he was running the Oilers, things were a bit of a mess. Mikko Koskinen was getting multi-year deals as a 35-year-old goaltender and such. So first of all, this team is built now as a winner. Obviously, Stuart Skinner in the cage, he's looked good. That was the only real question mark we had for this team. So I wanted to give some love to Ken Holland. However, when you look at Bouchard's salary steal, $3.9 million is a steal, and he is going to triple that number. He had over 80 points this year. I don't think a lot of people are recognizing how good this kid actually is, and fantasy-wise, Steele, double circle Evan Bouchard for next season. I know you and I and dedicated hockey heads out there have been all over Evan Bouchard, but if you're a little newer to the game, or you are in a fantasy league where some of the GMs are around you aren't as aware, Evan Bouchard is putting his fantasy draft stock through the roof. That's the note I had here, Steele. If he continues to perform at this level in the playoffs, you know, we've seen it before with big playoff performers. They head into the fantasy draft season next year as darlings. I could see Evan Bouchard doing it. A goal, 8 assists, 12 block shots, 17 shots on net this series. He's been doing a little bit of everything, and he's a stud.
You know, I'd have to go back and look at the draft board from this past season, but I think there's only a few, if not maybe only one team where 3 players are drafted in the first 2 rounds. And I could only really think of, off the top of my mind, the Colorado Avalanche and Mikko Rantanen and Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar. Now with Evan Bouchard being what he is and what they've wanted out of him, and being that, again, that star-studded defenseman, you've got obviously Connor McDavid going first overall every single year, you know, right there along with Nathan McKinnon. Again, I think still Nathan McKinnon could be in that conversation for best player in the world. Leon Draisaitl, the top 5 pick as well. Evan Bouchard is in the conversation of maybe sneaking into a high second round draft pick right now, from what he's doing on the power play, from what he's doing 5-on-5, and now getting up to 80 points in a season, and doing what he's doing right now in the playoffs as well. He's got 9 points in the playoffs in that first round. So absolutely killing it. He's boosted his stock value in fantasy drafts.
And look, we're going to move on to Leafs Bruins, because obviously Game 7s, that's the meat and potatoes of today's show. Talk about some different angles. I want to give some love to Max Domi. We got a same game parlay breakdown coming up at the end of the episode. Just to wrap this point up, though, on the Oilers, I think when you look at that roster, and, you know, I alluded to Ken Holland's love, the special teams, everyone's talking about it. The penalty kill, I highlighted it last week to you, how good it was. Now everyone's all over it. And I've been saying, Steele, and please back me up on this, for weeks about special teams in the playoffs. And this isn't a bold take. And like I said before, people out there know it. But now you're seeing it happen on the ice with this Edmonton Oilers team, Steele. Are they going to be able to go 100% on the penalty kill in the next series? I don't think so. But if you're going to be even close, you are going to be a very, very hard team to beat. Just like the rest of this episode, Steele, it's going to be fire and hard to beat. However, we'll get there. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 you can bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and a whole lot more. Hit up a same-game parlay like Steele and I will be talking about later. All of the odds always coming from FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
What's up, guys? Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils here, and let me tell you about Discover Credit Customer Service. Looking for an assist with your credit card but can't get a hold of anyone? Luckily, with 24/7 US-based live customer service from Discover, everyone has the option to talk to a real person anytime, day or night. Yep, you heard that right. You could talk to a real human in customer service anytime. Sounds like a real game changer if you ask me. Make the right call and get the service you deserve with Discover. Limitations apply. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Are you still watching on Fox Sports or ESPN? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting. Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, news, and opinions, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And our team forced a game 6, forced a game, and has now forced a game 7, going back to Boston. Absolutely stellar performance from Joseph Wall, your boy out there in the net. I know you traded for him. You want to talk about him maybe a little bit. You want to talk about Max Domi.
Yep.
I'll hand it over to you. I've got my points. I want to hear your opinion from what you saw in this game.
Sure.
What you're feeling going into Game 7, and then I'll spill the tea over on my end as well.
Let's be very clear off the top here, Steele. I'm reading and hearing and watching a lot of these angles about all the pressure is on the Boston Bruins. I understand that angle. I'm just not here for it because they have won cups in the last 58 years. That is pressure. So are they both under pressure? Yes, they are. Are the Bruins cooked if they blow another 3-1 series lead? Jim Montgomery will not be around if that's the case. I'm telling you. He will also push his record in Game 7s to 0-3 with the Boston Bruins. So let me just go with this. They need to score on the power play, Steele. Was it a great performance from Joseph Wall? Do you have big step up? Keefe seems to be pushing all the buttons right now properly. Montgomery's struggling with that. His additions into the lineup seem to be working nicely. I'll end it with this. That was a very close game still, and you're not seeing the best from the Boston Bruins. And is that part of playoff hockey? 100%. Who shows up and wants it more? The last 2 games, it's been the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'll put it right back over to you with this. They're in Boston. It's Game 7. We know the narratives, the storylines, everything about Toronto and Game 7s in Boston. There is a massive opportunity here, Steele. That's what I wanted to leave for this group to turn the page and really do something special. Are they going to have to run through a Florida team that they will be, again, underdogs against? 100%. But slay the dragon in Boston, they have a big opportunity here. That's what I had written down on this notepad.
They have a chance to change history right now and change the history for the better of Maple Leaf Nation and Maple Leaf fans everywhere. So this is a huge Saturday night for Toronto. This is a huge game for both of these teams. And
I don't feel well, Steele. I feel a little nervous.
Exactly. That's probably why I got sick last night, honestly. I mean, this is a huge game for both teams because, like you said, Jim Montgomery with his record now in Game 7s, with what he's been through, if he goes back-to-back years up 3-1 and loses 4-3 in the first round, he might not be here long enough to continue this journey with the Boston Bruins. And I agree. I did like what just from his post-game interview, just him saying Brad Marchand, people need to step up. Brad Marchand's been here the entire game. Pasta needs to be better. Needs to be better for them. There's a lot of players on the Leaf side that still need to be better for them, but hey, 2 big back-to-back wins. They force a Game 7. And again, the 2 biggest players in my eyes, besides Joseph Wall, obviously the last 2 games, Willie Nylander stepped up in a huge way for them when they needed him the most. They get that, that ever elusive first goal at the dying minute of the second period. He goes in and scores again to make, give them a little bit of that cushion. I will say I did not like the fact that they were trying to feed him the puck in the last 2 minutes of the third period, trying to get him that hat trick. They forced a little bit too much. They made it a little bit nerve-wracking. But besides William Nylander and Joseph Wall, I got to show love again to Matthew Nice. He made that play. He made that play for William Nylander to send him on the breakaway and give him that insurance goal, with under 5 minutes left in the game. So huge performances from some of those key pieces right there.
Well said.
And they got some really good depth forechecking in there. Noah Gregor his debut in the playoffs as well. Connor Dewar was great. There was a lot of good things from this Toronto Maple Leaf club, but still a lot of room for improvement.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I think, not to take anything away from Joseph Wall, who's allowed 2 goals, stopped every single puck aside from 2 goals now in back-to-back postseason starts. The kid's impressive, right? Like, say what you will about the small sample size, say what you will about whatever you want. He is their goaltender of the future. I've been saying it for a little bit now, and now he's finally cemented it. He will be that guy next season, Steele. He has proven it. I know it's 2 games and people are going to get crazy. It's the playoffs, and without Joseph Woll, they're already on the links. You know what I'm saying? And let me just say this, because the power play is the power play. Willie showing up is exactly what they haven't got in previous years, right? It's the core 4. Everybody's talked about it. It feels like a lot of these storylines, Steele, have been a bit played out. But the fact remains, the core 4, the big 4, whatever you want to call them, they haven't even gotten 2 of those guys going in one game yet. It's just been Matthews here with a good game, Johnny with a couple of good periods. This team is still getting wins, number 1, without their best player, and number 2, without their big guys firing at the same time. And I know Mitch has been better, but what happens to the Boston Bruins, their lack of offense, if Mitchie and Willie get going? That's what everyone was saying coming into this series. We still haven't seen it, and here we go. They've scraped it to a Game 7. They can very much do this, Steele. They can very much beat this Boston Bruins team, a team that has had their number more than anyone else. And I seriously think you're going to see such a tight checking, low-scoring game once again. There is so much nerves now for both teams. And let's actually close it up at this, because I really like this question I have for you. What's worse? The Leafs losing in Game 7 once again to the Boston Bruins and not getting it done, or back-to-back years blowing 3-1 series leads and losing in Game 7? Because one of those things is going to happen.
Well, obviously, as a Leafs fan, I'm going with the Leafs losing in Game 7 once again. But this is serious for both teams, because either way you look at it, you see the head coach getting fired and you see some big changes coming to the roster.
Yep.
You know, we were very skeptical of this Bruins team before the season even started, with the lack of depth down the center. You know, they played a really good regular season. They get the point of being the second best team in the Atlantic Division. They go up 3-1 in the series, and now they've let it tied up again. They have not been able to get, again, that elusive game-winning elimination win that they've needed over the last couple of years. So this is big for the Boston Bruins, especially the head coaching position with Jim Montgomery. This is huge for the Maple Leafs, because if they do not win this game and they do lose another Game 7, we know there's going to be massive changes, not just behind the bench, which is probably what's going to happen first, but it's going to be massive changes with the organization and the roster they have with this team. There's going to be, like Elliot Friedman alluded to, if they do not go deep in this postseason, the core 4 will not remain. One of them will have to waive their no trade clause, and one of them will be traded in the offseason, in next year. It doesn't matter. They're going to have to make some massive changes to change the narrative and change the persona of this club. Sure. This is a massive, massive game for both of these teams, and I couldn't be more excited. You know, I hope I'm fully recovered for Game 7. Like I said, I've been sick. I got home from work the other day. Out of nowhere, just a fever just came right over me. Got the cold sweats, the
playoff
shakes.
fever, baby.
Yeah, the playoff fever took over. I'm trying to get pumped up for Game 6. I actually fell asleep during the second period. I did see William Nylander's goal to get that 1-0 lead, but then I fell asleep. I woke up with 6 minutes left in the third period, just in time to see William Nylander's second goal of the game. Yes. I tried celebrating. I actually thought I pulled a muscle because of how weak my body is right now. So, I mean, I had to go lay down back on the couch after that. I could barely keep one eye open, but you know, it's all the Benylin, it's all the medicine I've been drinking over the last 24 hours. But I mean, I internally couldn't be more ecstatic than what I am showing right now externally. So, get massive Game 7.
And can't wait to drop the puck tonight, Saturday, baby. Game 7, hockey night in Canada. Every angle you uncovered as a hockey fan, smash it into one game, smash it into one nerve-wracking 60, potentially more minutes of fun, Steele. And I'm ready to go, baby. Go Leafs, go all day long. Let's leave it at this one for you, because when Willie steps up, like he did in Game 6, and they fed him the puck at the end. I hate when they do that. I hate when they go for the Hatties and all that other thing. it fires up the team. And I forget, one TSN analyst, someone else made the point, right? And this goes back to the pressure. This goes back to everything kind of coming into it. That plane ride for the Boston Bruins headed home is like cricket central, where you got Willie Stiles pumping up the whole Leafs roster, and they have just come back and won 2 games. Those smaller things, you and I are running out of things to talk about when we talk about the same teams over and over again, Steele. So you just got to bring up some of these angles. I got a same game parlay that's going to fit right in the same vein as some of the angles Steele and I just discussed. And I do want to just drop one more little bit of love for Max Domi right after the break.
Go Leafs, go, and go Monopoly Go, because this episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. We've all been there either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure if your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep, lift your head, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right, the smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love on your phone anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress with your buddies. There's so much to do, like play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards, make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball, charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb that leaderboard. So get back out there, put your game face on, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play.
We all have that friend who wakes up early to go get everyone McDonald's breakfast, while the rest of us sleep in. This is your sign to thank them. And if you're that friend, this is us saying thank you.
Just a friendly reminder that right now, get any size iced coffee before 11 a.m. for just 99 cents. And a satisfying sausage McMuffin with egg is just $2.79. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning. Flip, these transitions I've got going on this episode is absolutely fire.
Yeah,
but
you're on point.
What's also fire, though, is Game 7, Saturday night, big time bets. We got a same game parlay. I'll throw it over to you to let all of our listeners know what we're feeling in this one solo game action on Saturday.
First and foremost, just a little bit of love for Max Domi. A $3 million contract for Max Domi when I know we want him to shoot the puck a lot more. Otherwise, he is a really good hockey player. He can also skate like the wind. I know he's right up there in, like average speed for his stride. I know that's a random stat. He's also a good playoff performer, Steele. He was solid for Carolina a couple of years ago. He was really good for the Dallas Stars last year, and he has stepped up again, and you can tell he cares about being a Toronto Maple Leaf for obvious reasons. He cares about the crest he's got on his chest, and I just wanted to come on here and show him some love. If they are able to squeak it out here, he's going to be a big reason why, along with your boy Matty Nyes. Let me just give her here very quickly. I hit a nice little parlay the other night. Willie, thank you very much. He's been hitting his shot totals. William Nylander, over 3.5 shots. He's done that in the last 2 games. I'm loving that as my first pick. Second pick, under 5.5. I don't think a lot needs to be said there. This is going to be another grind. It was 1 goal almost through 2 full periods the other night. Under 5.5, and I'm going to go it with an anytime point from Willie as well, Steele. Lock of the night would be a Willie anytime point. There's not going to be a ton of payout here, Steele, but I'm really liking all 3 of those, and I don't know if you noticed, I'm staying away from picking a winner in this game because I don't think I can come on here and confidently say one way or another, but that's not to say you shouldn't, but those are my 3 picks. Lock of the night, Willie, anytime point.
Absolutely love those picks because I've got 2 of the same in the same game parlay. First pick, like you said, Maple Leafs Bruins under 5.5. Every single game has been under the 6.5. 4 out of 6 have been under 5.5. If you want to get spicy, even try the 4.5 because, like you said,
that is spicy.
This entire game was almost 0-0 until the end of the second period. So I'm going to keep it chill though. Keep the under 5.5 in this matchup. I'm also feeling the William Nylander anytime point in Game 7. He's been absolutely huge since coming into this first round series against the Bruins. And my lock of the night is going to be Morgan Rielly anytime point. Morgan Rielly in the past seems to be clutch. He's done it. He did it against the Tampa Bay Lightning a few games, last year in a few games. I feel like he hasn't been too present offensively in this series so far, but he seems to bring that clutch factor when it matters most. And I think he's going to get a big time point in Game 7 for this. So that's going to be my lock of the night, Morgan Rielly anytime point, with your lock of the night, William Nylander anytime point.
I'm loving those, Steele. Also, Morgan Rielly is the longest tenured Maple Leaf. Talking about caring. This guy wants to win in Toronto so bad. I respect Morgan Rielly for a lot of reasons. He also just seems like a genuinely kind of a cool dude, like kind of the guy you want to have a pint with maybe. Anyway, not like that matters. Steele and I are going to continue to break down fantasy angles all summer long, prep you for next year's draft. We will break down round 2 next week, game by game, series by series, X factors again, best bets. Make sure you're tapped into Monday's episode. Round 2. We're ready, Steele, and I don't know who's going to be there, but either way, you and I will be here. Ooh, another good segue to cover all of the NHL news that y'all need.
We're here. We're fired up, and round 2 is right around the corner. We've got just 3 games remaining in the first round just to settle out. But thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Also, go check out Locked On Sports Today's YouTube channel, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. They're here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. And you can also find it on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. Good luck with all your bets tonight. And we shall see you back here again on Monday.
Peace.
It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Want to make Mom's Day? Get to your Nordstrom Rack now and score amazing deals for Mother's Day, which is Sunday, May 12th. Find tons of gifts from only $30 at Nordstrom Rack. Fragrance, jewelry, luxury bags, activewear, beauty, and more. Save on Kate Spade New York, Stuart Weitzman, and Ted Baker London. Great brands, great prices. So shop your Nordstrom Rack store today and treat Mom to the good stuff from just $30.
Life is a highway, and on it there will be many chicken sandwiches. But there's only one McCrispy. So go ahead and hit the turn signal if you know about this juicy gem of a detour.